Hey guys, and welcome to the Expansive Journey. My name's Julie, and I'm just having a cup of cacao because I've been sick. So if my voice is a little bit strange, it's because of my cold. And in today's video, I want to talk about spiritual fantasies because that's a topic that is usually it's very easy to overlook and to be trapped into, and you sort of need, like, some people discover it that they're in one all by themselves, but I think most of us, we need sort of like a teacher to point it out that we are in a spiritual fantasy. So I want to start off again with when we're young, and we sort of develop this mental world. It's a mental world where we construct ideas of who we are and what other people are, and the past and the future, and which is ultimately it's knowledge, and it consists of language with stories and images in our minds, which is like memories. So we have this whole idea and this whole storyboard in our minds about other people, ourselves, the world, the past, the future, and so on and so forth. The universe, whatever, right? And this is something that builds up gradually over time as we're children, and or the adults in our lives, they're helping us to develop this knowledge base, right? About, and it's seen as healthy development to develop a character, an idea of who you are. And that's the human conditioning. And that sort of develops over time, um, more and more as we enter adulthood, until it's sort of like this a solid, more or less rigid idea about the world that we hold. They say that up until when you're 35, that the idea about who you are in the world is very, it doesn't change much after that. Maybe you can get more knowledge, but the main core principles is very stuck, they say. And the thing is that waking up is sort of like discovering that that is it's a mind-based world. It's a conceptual world of thoughts, and that's when we sort of like it's like we're taking a loop, and we're on our way back again. So we've been taking this journey into the world, into the conceptual world, with the mind, developing stories about ourselves and others, developing a persona with other personas. And then when we start to realize that's an illusion, that's when we start to take the turn and we come back again to truth. And we start to unravel and peel off the layers of illusion that we have been carrying and taken to be us and the world. So the awakening is not about changing the world. It's not about changing your idea about the world, even though that is usually a part of the journey for most of us. I think it's when the mind is still, the mind identification is still going strong, and it still operates, we still identify with thoughts. And that's when we create a spiritual persona. And for some people, they are taking that very seriously. They're like, I'm not judging that, because if that happens, it's supposed to happen. Like, nothing is an error in the grand scheme of everything, right? And there might be truth to it as well, for all I know. And it can be like identifying as a star seed, or identifying as a religious person as well, identifying as a seeker, identifying as a I would say identifying, I don't know, light worker, whatever. It can be anything. I'm a fifth dimensional being, and I'm smiling because, I've also fallen into these traps. I fell into this when I was looking for answers, and I was desperate for answers, actually, because I needed to know what is reality, what am I, and what is the world. I just need some sort of answers, and if there's something that can explain why I feel so different and why I suffer and why I think the world is so uncomfortable, then I'll take it because I need to know, right? But something within me knew that this is not the ultimate answers. There is an absolute truth that goes beyond this label about my past lives and so on and so forth. So we become spiritual seekers and we enter a spiritual matrix with spiritual ideas. And that is sort of how the mind goes about the spiritual journey. It tries to control it, it tries to hijack it and gets its own grasp it in a sense. And that's okay. I guess that's sort of what the mind does. It's just, we're not here, like this real spiritual journey, it's not about changing the conceptual world. It's not about changing the mind, even though you can do that as well. It's like changing your mindset, right? Changing the character, that's personal development. But realizing truth, and if you have to realize truth, you have to go beyond the mind. You have to go beyond the conceptual ideas about yourself and the world. Because the mind is duality. And you can't realize truth in duality. It's non-dual. That's the truth, right? The oneness. So I in my mind, not now, when I'm putting this into words, I see it as a journey. We grow up and we create. The mind is developed. The mental illusion is gradually harnessing. It's getting more and more, feels more and more real, right? And then the spiritual awakening is to seeing that it's not real and coming back to the original, what we originally are. And thoughts, we have to see thoughts as thoughts. And that can be really hard when we have been really conditioned to believe that thoughts are real. Everyone else around us thinks thoughts are real. And we are living in this thought world, right? But thoughts are actually like a sixth sense gate. It's like we can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste and touch. And that's also emotions are on a level of touch, like feeling. Thoughts is like the blah, blah, blah. It's everything that is not here. It only happens here in the subjective mind. So, and that consists of words and images. And if you want to learn more about what thoughts are, I recommend that you watch my free masterclass. It's a link in the description below, where I will go through this more clearly with you, how to distinguish thoughts from reality. And when we start doing that, we can start to see that everything that we believe about the world and ourselves and others are just that, thoughts. And sort of disentangle thoughts from, to move out of that, like disentangle thoughts from reality is freedom. Because we're stop living in these little boxes of labels. And we start living in a more direct, unfiltered experience. So it's really, really crucial for us to get very clear on what thoughts are. And we sort of need to be, maybe especially in the beginning, we will need to be more disciplined about this, actually. We need to be more ruthless and more like clear. Hey, this is a thought. I had a thought about myself. I had an image in my mind about something, a story. I had a thought about the spiritual journey, whatever it is, the world, another person, something in the past, something I'm going to do in the future. It doesn't mean that you can't think. It's just a matter of recognizing, oh, that's a thought. That's a thought. And taking your attention back into the present moment, which is the other 5 senses, which are also always available, right? So that is also what you do in Zen. You call the, it's like Zen is very disciplined. You call out the thoughts and the mind constantly until it loses its grip over you and it loses its power to keep you in the illusion. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. Sorry about my cold and my throat. And as always, subscribe and like this video and leave a comment below if you have been trapped in a spiritual fantasy as well. If you are in one, it can be really hard to see if you are in one. Sometimes it's just it just has to pop when it pops, the illusion. Again, just always bringing your attention back into the senses. And yeah, you can watch again my free masterclass. I go through this very clearly with you, how to do that. But again, you can just put your attention right now into the visual field and see what, without labeling the objects in your visual field. And that's where you can find the present moment without the constant judgment of it. And until next time, much love and namaste.